All right, so we are recording up and live. My name is Millicent. Welcome,
Okay.
everybody. I guess Yat A Shea, Dr. Millicent Michelle Peppian Yenishe, Todajitni Nishla, Ado Ketlajim Bashishchin, Tachitni A Dashache, Bilagana A Dashanella, Hostos Danisha Kat Analota Kat Chanel. Hello, my name is Millie. I am Bitterwater Clan, born for the Blackfeet Nation. I live out here with my two children. We are in Mesa, Arizona. Today, I have a friend of mine, Steven Esquibel. He is in Denmark, and we will be interviewing him today. Um, just to give you a little background about Stephen, he has a BA from UCSD, a master's from USIU, and he's the first native to go to MIT on a PhD. At the age of 32, he was the youngest person in his tribal area to be appointed Speaker of the American Indian Elder Society for some 19 reservations in Southern California. What reservation do you, or what nation do you belong to?
I'm Juaneño from San Juan Capistrano, but I was born in Escondido and grew up in Escondido and on the Rincon Reservation, which is Luceño, where I have family.
All right, I've heard of all those. I've actually just went to a conference where I met some of the youth there, so awesome. And that was extending, so his work with the American Indian Elder Society extended beyond California into Arizona with the Cocopah and Quechan reservations. Some of the work that Mr. Escobar has done is he has been a tribal administrator for the San Pasqual Indian Reservation in Valley Center, California. He's been a national Indian consultant for the Native American Resource and Research Associates. He's been an American Indian outreach specialist and Indian liaison, which we kind of share similar, being with with government work for the U.S. Department of Census, which I'm going to get more to later on. And then he's an environmental planner for the city of Simi Valley and was an environmentalist for multiple cities across the United States. As stated before, a speaker for the American Indian Elder Society for 42 years and is still currently working for them. And also, he's an author, and his latest book is Flight of the Hummingbirds, which is so interesting because my class and I, we were just talking about hummingbirds in our, oh, awesome, in our last in-person class, which was February 9th, and we were talking about the power of hummingbirds. So I'm really interested in reading your book. And without further ado, here is Mr. Steven Esquibel. If you could please just share with us where you grew up and just some of your experiences being a Native person growing up in the California area.
Oh boy. Uh, like I said, I grew up in Escondido and we went back and forth to the Rincon Reservation, which is just not far outside of Escondido, California, which is in San Diego County. Uh, Growing up, I quickly became aware of racism. At an early age, I was put in a Catholic school, which was very abusive and racist. And so quickly got to know that difference was there. Uh, in talking to my dad, he said one of the earliest recollections he had of me as a child was him washing me in a tub and me asking him, how come you and I are this color, Dad, and everybody else is some other color? So I guess from a very, very early age, I became aware of differences. Uh, Once I got out of Catholic school and was put into public school uh, with friends I grew up with on the local reservations, it became a free for all. We were just having a lot of fun. And then at the age of 19, I entered Palomar College, which is in San Marcos, California. And there was a small group of people trying to organize minority people. And before I knew it, I became president of the Minority Student Organization, which primarily consisted of Chicanos and natives from the area. There was just a small group of us, but we were able to create the multicultural studies department, which is ongoing at Palomar College after all these years. Um, and that experience, while it was political in nature and led to me being political for a number of years, uh, it let me see that while in my teenage years we were rebelling and drinking on the reservation and fighting and all this kind of stuff, it showed me there was a constructive and positive way to reflect who we were and fight racism. And so that became a real eye-opening moment for me internally within myself. And from there, it led on to other educations, which you've mentioned. And the first job I got out of MIT was out at Navajo, helping create Diné cooperatives out of Chinle, Arizona. And I created the structure and format for them to create the Diné cooperatives. Uh, while there, I got a frantic call from the tribal chairman's office to rush to Window Rock, his administrative aide by the name of Miley Trimiar. And so I dropped everything, rushed to Window Rock, and she informed me of this massive radioactive spill that had taken place. I was just shocked. And the reason she had gotten a hold of me, she knew I came out of MIT and wanted to know if I had any contacts that I could get a hold of at MIT and have scientists come out to Navajo and help them assess what are we looking at? What are the ramifications of this? Short term, long term. And so I contacted the chancellor of MIT and explained the situation and the people involved, which was United Nuclear. Now, United Nuclear involved a lot, the US military, US government, many other corporations under its umbrella. And the chancellor said to me, "This is off the record. We can't help you, and you're not going to get any reputable scientists to help you because you don't bite the hand that feeds you. But I'm going to give you a name of a scientist here that you can talk to, and he'll tell you what you're looking at." So I phoned that person, had a conversation with him, and he told me some very disturbing news. But basically, the level of radioactive waste that occurred that got into the groundwater system, not only for Navajo, but has traveled because of where the spill took place. Would take about 20 or 25 years to get into the basic genetic structure of life and change it, and not for the better. And that could mean a whole host of illnesses and sicknesses. Now, what was interesting was almost to the date, almost 20, 25 years later, a virus mutated right where the radioactive spill took place called the hantavirus and began making people ill and killing them. And I thought that was interesting. And I wrote a large letter outlining all this and sent it to the Arizona Republic newspaper. It was never printed. Now, one of the things I did when I was first involved, I got on the news station in San Diego, and I was in a hotel room in Escondido and had maps up on the wall and showed where the water flowed uh, uh, through the Rio Puerto into the little Colorado into the big Colorado. And that was allowed to air on television one time, and then it was pulled. And since then, it's been my understanding that the whole thing has pretty much been covered up. And I've tried to pursue it in many ways over the years. In fact, in this book, Flight of a Hummingbird, I've written a whole storyline on it. And at one time, uh, I got in contact with a person that ran the fund for radioactive contamination from people for people in Arizona and New Mexico from the atomic bomb testings. And I asked him, is there any way that this spill could be put on that so that people can get funding necessary to deal with this? And he said no. But his wife was a well-known author and wrote the book on Jaws and the movie on Jaws, the movie. And so she contacted me and was very interested in it and asked for my story. So I sent it to her, the writing. And she became very excited and she said they had a place, I think it was in Montana. Well, I have to go to Montana and I'll get back to you. Well, she had communication from what she told me with her publisher and other people, and they told her to drop it and back off. And that's what she told me. And she also told me that my book would never be allowed to be published because of that story within the book.
Wow, that's that's a
I'm
lot.
not, I'm not sure that's where you wanted to head, but that's where I went.
No, that's really important here. Actually, we have someone on here who was very interested in the Church Rock nuclear spill, and that was the largest nuclear disaster in the United States ever, and it continues to be the largest nuclear disaster. It's also one of the most unrecognized health catastrophes that happened in the United States as well. It was, like you said, very underreported. Several community members didn't even hear about it when it happened, and it took like decades. I mean, it's still affecting generations of families. I was watching a documentary where they were showing like the sheep and butchering as something that families do together. And they opened up one of the sheeps near Church Rock and the meat was yellow. And they were like, don't eat
Yeah,
it.
I had a real hard time uh, when I was initially told this, and then was driving back to Chinle because I picked up elders walking along the way that they were going to grocery stores to get their weekly supply, and they're such beautiful people, and my heart was just breaking because I could not tell them, don't eat your sheep, don't drink your water, it's all been polluted. And uh, it was a real horrible feeling I had, real sad, and I still feel it to this day.
Yeah, well, cleanup is ongoing. There are still residual effects. There's still a high cancer rate there, even among the animals and the people, and also downstream, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I lived out in the White Mountains and worked with the White Mountain Apaches for a while. And I talked to many Native people, and they were telling me that uh, the cancer and the sickness had spread all the way to the Grand Canyon and the tribes living there.
Yep,
So
yeah,
that means
ongoing.
so that means it's in the big Colorado River, which then supplies water to California as well as Mexico.
Hmm.
So you're not only talking about one state, you're talking multiple states as well as international jurisdictions, and that's why it's all been covered up.
Yep.
But let me say something first. And I told you, I wrote to you, as is our traditional way, and you're interested about healing and traditional healing. Well, one of the things that has always been a key aspect of healing, whether you're talking tribes from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the North to the South, is prayer. Prayer has been an integral part of healing. And the prayers vary from tribe to tribe, but the one thing that doesn't vary is the concept that there is a greater spirit. So in my book, Flight of the Hummingbird, it's filled with beautiful artwork done by Chabon de Cone, who's a noted native artist from Oklahoma. He's Kiowa. Anywhere I wrote this, and it's called The Prayer of Healing. O great spirit, the creator of all, in which all life is a part of you, as a reflection of your spirit, life is but the striving to remain within your perfect reflection. That you, O great spirit, provide all I need to remain a part of you, through what I am provided and not provided in life, through what I experience and do not experience in life, that you and all you have created are immortal in spirit. Therefore, all who remain a part of your reflection shall also live forever in spirit with you. That you have given me, humankind, your laws of balance, respect, love, gratitude, honesty, trust, faith, and hope, which allows me and all to live in harmony with your spirit and thereby remain a part of you. That with you, O great spirit, in my heart, my mind, my words, and actions, nothing or no one can truly harm, injure, or deprive me of any blessing you wish for me in my life. For you are above all, and only you are truly great. O great spirit, I freely acknowledge it is only when I wander outside of your perfect reflection and do not live by the laws you have provided that I truly suffer and become ill. That is only by staying within your perfect reflection that I remain whole without need, suffering, or illness. That only to you, O great spirit, do I look to for all my needs, happiness, blessing, joys of life, and healing. It is only to you, O great spirit, do I place my absolute trust and faith. I give thanks to you, O great spirit, for allowing me to be a part of you and for all in my life. I pray to you, O great spirit, for your guidance, blessing, forgiveness, healing, strength, and protection. Aho.
Oh, that was really nice. Thanks for sharing that prayer with us today. I really appreciate that. Um, kind of going back to the beginning, I was thinking while you were reading that, if you could just tell us a little bit about your parents, your mother and your father, and where they grew up.
Okay. Um, my father grew up on a ranch, which was one of the last largest working ranches in Southern California, in Orange County, California. He was native. His mother lived there. His grandmother lived there. We had lived in that area for untold amount of years, but obviously the land was taken and uh, became a ranch under white ownership. Uh, in the 30s, uh, my grandfather, who was a rancher and knew how to grow things, was hired by Sunkist uh, Corporation to plant orange trees and lemon trees in San Diego County. And they offered him, I don't know, maybe $300 a month, which was a lot of money back then. So he told the ranch owner, I've been offered this money. He was a foreman of the ranch at that time and grew up on it. And he told the ranch foreman, well, I've been offered this money and it's good money. And at that time, the ranch was only 10% under production, because water was not available at that time to that area. And the ranch owner said, John, why don't you stay here? Your family's been here forever, and I'll give you 10% ownership of the ranch. That's 10% ownership of a good part of Orange County, California. And my grandfather said, well, that's awful kind of you to give me 10% of what I owned. And so he took his family and moved to Escondido in the 30s. And so that's where my dad pretty much grew up. He was just a little boy, and where I was. And then my dad served in World War II. And while in World War II, he fought in Europe and Africa and a variety of places. And he met my mom, who was English, and married her. He was stationed there for a while after the war had ended, and then moved them back with my eldest brother, who was born in England, moved them back to Escondido. They've both now passed.
Wow. Well, rest in peace to your parents. How did you end up at boarding school, and what boarding school did you go to? And
Well, it wasn't a boarding school. It was a Catholic school run, and there's a variety of Catholic schools. Some are on the reservation, and it's a place where it was kind of understood all Indian children went to. There was no real choice about it. Uh, you know, the first colonization that occurred in the United States was right where I'm from, and that had to do with the conquistadors and the Catholic Church. And certainly the Catholic Church has had a strong grip on Native communities, not only in where I'm from, but extending into Arizona and New Mexico.
yeah, my dad, he also grew up in Catholic church. He attended Brophy here in Phoenix. Um, so kind of going back to um how you kind of ended up in your academic journey. What was the first school that you graduated from? You said you got a bachelor's degree from.
From UCSD.
Yes, this a lot of
And
a lot of
I,
students. A lot of
pardon?
students are getting their bachelor's degree that are taking this class.
Yes. And it was interesting because they had just started what's called third college at UCSD for minority people. And Angela Davis was instrumental in creating it. And I was one of the newer people that went to third college. And I majored in mass communication and urban and rural studies. And at that time, I wanted to be a filmmaker. That was my thought.
What kind of, did you ever make any films?
Yeah, I did. I made a couple of documentaries. I made one for Cesar Chavez. This is going back to 1972. And I met Cesar Chavez. He was a beautiful man. What he was trying to do for his people, I very much supported. Because I came from basically a ranching, farm working background in terms of my grandfather and my father when he first got out of World War II. So, and then I was invited to do another one up in Oregon on the takeover of a fort by Native Americans up there on the takeover of the fort. And I was very political, very active at that time in American Indian world.
Were you part of the American Indian movement? Would you say?
I knew them. I met Russell Means a long time ago. I spoke on the same platform as him. I was in on the original meeting, organizational meeting, which took place in Denver for what became Wounded Knee. And they asked me if I could quit school and go there and film it. And I was in my last semester of graduating. So I said, no, I need to finish this. I need to finish my education, and I'm almost there.
Oh, okay. Did you know about Alcatraz?
Yes, I did.
You did? Oh, okay. You didn't go out there though, or?
Yes, I did, but it was after the initial takeover, but not much long after. So this was maybe 1970, I think. You're taking me back. I'm 73.
Sorry, I'm trying to stay in chronological order, but it's kind of getting bunched up here. And then, okay, have you been out to the Alcatraz, like when they do their Thanksgiving?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't. Uh, when I became involved with the elders, which is a long story, it's in my book, a beautiful story, but a long story. Uh, I became totally engrossed uh, within what we were doing. And we accomplished some significant things. Uh, we not only performed traditional ceremonies and conducted traditional ceremonies, funerals, and other things, but we were instrumental in having our sacred mountain protected forever. And we were the first group to sue the state of California to get back the ancient remains that the state of California had, some 500 and I think 42 remains and artifacts of native people, which it had found when it was developing the state park system for California. And at one time had on display in the state parks, but then became out of political fashion to do that. So they gathered them all up and put them in a warehouse in Sacramento. And we were the first people and the first tribe to traditionally rebury those ancient remains that we got back. And that opened the door for all the tribes in California. And I think it had a national impact as well as we look at what's been developed. And so that took up all my time. I mean, I became so engrossed in learning and doing that with them. I became a traditional gourd singer. I spoke at funerals, many funerals, unfortunately. And uh, I quit. I walked away from my professional background, my educational background, and just dedicated my life to that.
Wow. We were just we had Dr. Stephanie Little Crow Big Hawk, and she was letting us know about a repatriation meeting that they were having in South Dakota last week, regarding how they were gonna um process and hold ceremonies for some of their remains that were being sent back as well. So that's great that you were able to tap into that, and I'm sorry that that you had to be well, it's actually really I think honorable that you were part of that. So um back to this elders, so you were the youngest elder, did I read that right?
Yes, it was a real mind twist for me because I'd always been raised and grew up to respect my elders. And so all of a sudden I was involved with people 60, 70, 80 years old that knew my grandparents. And so I would go with them. They were showing me things and teaching me things, many things. And I would sit there silently and just listen. And then we were at one meeting, and one of the traditional leaders in the area, George Hyde, beautiful man, I miss him, my Uncle George. And he looked at me and he said, "Hey, when are you going to talk? When you're dead?" So I said, oh, I can talk. So once they let me talk, that was the end of it.
So, how old were you when you became an elder of your community?
Ooh, well, I'm still an elder. I'm an elder now. When I was appointed this position, I was 32.
You're
And
32.
I have
Oh my
all
God.
this in writing. I have all this in writing so I can prove it to anybody. I mean, it's just, anything I say to you, I have it in writing and I can prove it. I'm not, I don't like lying and I don't like liars. So that's just how I was raised and that's what I was taught. And certainly, when you're around traditional leaders and elders and medicine people, uh, there are certain things that just are not tolerated, and that's one of them.
Being liar, yeah. No, that's really important information as well.
But there's, when you're talking about traditional healing,
Mhm.
and you think about that, it's such a broad concept. But are you talking about traditional healing pre-colonial times or post-colonial times? Because there's a big difference. After Wounded Knee Massacre, the United States government put an outright law and ban on Native people from practicing their beliefs and customs. Now, healing and conducting ceremonies and praying was a part of that. And that's what led to Geronimo's last escape from the reservation in San Carlos, is when they killed the medicine man while they're gathering for a ghost dance ceremony. So that had a massive impact on traditional healing. Uh, and it varied. It really varied from state to state and location, depending upon how close the native populations were to this other population that was growing in the United States. Now, obviously, where I'm from, if you've ever been to San Diego County in the area, it's a very developed area. So we're in very close proximity. And we had two waves of colonization. First was the Spanish, and then the colonization from the east to the west that we endured. So a lot of our culture and our ways, it's still there, but it's not as evident as it is as you get to reservations that are more removed and isolated from the general population. They've been able to hold on to things in a much more apparent way than tribes and reservation people that have more been integrated into the general society. So I have to ask, you talking pre-colonial? You talking post-colonial? And
Let's talk
then,
about those differences. What do you think some of the differences are, like between pre-colonial and post-colonial ceremonies?
well, there's you not only have to understand when they pass a law against us practicing our religion, which I testified in front of the United States Senate about, the American Indian Religious Freedom Act. And that had a tremendous impact because prayer and ceremony has always been a part of the healing process. Always has. Whether you're going from East Coast to West Coast, North to South, it didn't matter. And uh, and then other laws were passed. I think one of the worst laws too, aside from the Dawes Act, was the Indian Reorganization Act, and the government passed that to control Native peoples by reorganizing them and removing the traditional people out of authority and having this elected body now run the tribes and reservations. That had a tremendous impact because that undermined the traditions and the customs and the practices and the leadership of native nations. And I think tribes should throw the damn law out the window and have the U.S. Overturn it and throw it out too, and go back to other ways. Because to be a traditional leader, to be a medicine person, you cannot be a dishonest person. You cannot be a greedy person. You cannot be a proud person. All these negative traits you could not be. You had to show very positive traits to be that. And that's what's lacking right now in on many reservations throughout the nation. Now, I've met with most of the tribes throughout the country at one point or another, including Alaska. And so it's had a tremendous impact in a variety of ways, and some of them by law passed by the United States government.
Yeah, I try to tell my students that too, that we didn't want those tribal governments, and it was really just a way to kind of funnel our
It was,
resources to a
it
small
was
group of
it,
people who would agree to these negotiations.
well, look at politics in the U.S. I mean, that says it all.
Do you feel so kind of going back to the differences of pre and post colonial ceremonies, what are some of the differences that you think are the strongest differences between those?
I think the strongest difference is, again, uh, uh, you have to understand that post-colonial also brought different beliefs on the reservations, Catholic, Mormon, many different religions, which are still on reservations. So all of that undermined uh, traditional belief, traditional approach to life, respecting traditional leaders, medicine people, all of that served to undermine it. Certainly the churches, uh, they were no big help, you know. So they did their best to break us too, and break us from uh, that natural life history that we had and still have with the Great Spirit. And I think that's been one of the biggest tragedies that has happened to Native people or indigenous people throughout the world. And that is stopping them from having that natural history and evolution with that greater being.
Yeah, no, I sometimes I sit in ceremonies and I
Does
hear
that make
songs.
does that make sense to you?
Yeah, sometimes I'm in ceremonies and I hear songs like about Jesus, or I'll hear people quote the Bible in teepee meetings and stuff. Even in Sweat Lodge, I've heard them. Um, so yeah, I definitely feel that that there was a replacement. And I wonder sometimes what we used to say, or like what we
I,
used.
you bring me to something I want to share with you, and it's a writing of mine. And I'm not doing this to beat my chest. Look, I'm not out to be a rich man, a powerful man, or any other man. I'm just out to be me. And I freely share who I am when people reach out to me. I share what I have, what I know, because everything in life has been a gift. Everything in life is a gift. Even my writings, I don't feel like I really own them. They've been given to me to write in a way. So I freely acknowledge that. Uh, and that's how people need to look at life, that it's a gift. It's all a wonderful gift. Anyway, I wrote this, and it's called 3 Absolute Rules of Life. And I tried to reflect and write what's been taught me. 1, the Great Spirit has brought everyone into this world for a purpose. 2, only the Great Spirit knows this purpose. 3, the Great Spirit cannot reveal his purpose to one unless one keeps their mind and heart open to him at all times. One achieves the revelations of one's purpose from the Great Spirit through traditional prayer, belief, trust, faith, fasting, and meditation. The purpose of one's life then becomes one's center. Once a center has been established in oneself, one never feels lost in life, and it forever acts as a compass in one's life, directing one through the decisions of life.
That's very powerful. Um,
That's
you said
healing too.
through fasting. Did I catch that through fasting?
Yes. My traditional name is Tishmal, which means hummingbird. How I got that name is a long story, but the short version was I was sent to our sacred mountain, which I didn't know existed, because things through this colonial process that we've discussed, everything was hidden. So it wasn't evident to me growing up. It was something I was led into. And so I was directed by a medicine man from Canada by the name of Rufus Goodstriker from the Blood Reserve. He said, go up on your sacred mountain. I didn't even know it existed. And go up there and fast and pray for 3 days. And you'll see that the spirit is never lost. It's forever there. And so I began asking around different elders, different people. I was running the San Pasqual reservation at the time. Is there a special mountain? I don't know. In the area, I don't know. And finally, an elder said, yeah. And they told me where it was. And it sits on the Mexican-California border. And the common name is Mount Tecate. Our name for it is Guchama. And so I parked my truck at the base of the mountain, and it's all covered in massive chaparral. And I was wondering, geez, how am I going to get to the top of this thing? How am I going to climb it? And I heard this buzzing sound, and I thought it was a bee, and it turned out to be a hummingbird that came right at me. And then the hummingbird flew to a canyon, a ravine, and then flew back to me and buzzed, and then flew back to the ravine. And I said, oh, it wants me to follow him, this voiceover. So I went to the canyon ravine, and it turned out to be such a beautiful climb, an easy climb up to the top of the mountain. So once I told the elders this and I fasted and prayed up there, I saw many wonderful things. Uh, they said, that's your medicine, that's your name. That's what the mountain gives, is your name, your medicine. So then I had to learn about the hummingbird.
What'd you learn
But
about the hummingbird?
I've learned many things, many things. One is that many cultures held the hummingbird as a messenger. And that bird has some wondrous capabilities that have helped me in life in terms of its ability to quickly move, turn around, and go backwards. So, part of our medicine, part of our understanding of life has always been that everything has a spirit. And when you open your spirit up to all that spirit, oh, wondrous things are shown to you. And that's how healing was done. And so when a person was given their medicine, an animal or something, they would wear it. They would make it them. And they would learn about the animal and open up to its spirit and take its medicine and its spirit within themselves and help them become a better person, help them in life.
Yeah,
That's medicine.
one time I met this bear dancer, and he was saying the same thing that you just said right now, where he had to eat the bear and then he could wear the bear, and then he became the bear, and he always danced with like honey and um yeah, just like exactly what you said with becoming and learning everything about that animal.
Yeah, I don't think I've told you one untruth tonight. I hope not.
No, that's cool. You're actually intersecting with a lot of different things that we have discussed in our class. Like we were discussing repatriation last class, and then on February 9th we were talking about the hummingbird and how it's a warrior bird for the Mexica people. And so yeah,
Yeah, I've been that too.
you
I've been a
I,
warrior.
I
I've been
was the
many
one
things.
who brought it up about that the hummingbird is a warrior that has passed on in Aztec mythology, and it's also a loved one that comes and visits you because I always have hummingbirds and I relate a lot to the hummingbird. Every time I see a hummingbird, I always say it's my dad and it's my sister that passed away and they come and visit me.
Ah, that's wonderful.
That's one of my
That's
students named
wonderful.
Desiree. Yeah.
Yeah. Good to meet you. That's a
Nice to meet you as
wonderful
well.
that's a wonderful experience. That's a wonderful feeling that you have in connection. That's wonderful. I'm happy for you.
No, it's all coming together. So I really appreciate your time here. Um,
Are we running out of time? I don't know how
no,
much
no,
time we
I was
have.
gonna say, I mean, we could talk for a couple more minutes, but I I went to the Tohono O'odham reservation, and they had a storytelling night, and a gentleman who passed away now, he helped build the museum there. And he told them to go climb to the Baba Kavari mountain, to climb to the top of it. He used to tell them to. And the guy, he shared one of the stories that he was climbing up the mountain and he saw a turtle. He saw a turtle climbing up the mountain too.
anything
Like,
anything is possible, I'll tell you that much. I've learned that much in life.
he's like, if a turtle can climb the mountain, you can climb the mountain. And he was just like, hey, turtle, what are you doing up here? And I was like, kind of looked at him, I was like, same thing you're doing. Like, so, um,
Yeah, we're all on the same path. Now, this is something I wanted to share with you because it's a healing thing. And it's in I'm not telling everybody get the book because it's not out yet. And it may never be out. Uh, but it's called The Circle of Understanding. And I based it on the medicine wheel. And this is a healing circle for people. Uh, and what it shows, I wish I could have made, is a diagram. And there's a whole storyline. I'm trying to see in the camera how it matches up with what you're seeing. Anyway, it has man's world on one end. It has human actions on another, words, thoughts, spirit, and then the center is God, earth, nature. And I put our spirit close to that because that's something, whether we realize or not, our spirit is always connected to the earth and the great spirit. And the key to this, if you can see the circle, I lined all the lines up, and that's to be in balance so that your actions, your words, your thoughts, your spirits are in harmony with the earth and the creator, the great spirit. Now, the problem is man's world is way out of balance, so the line would actually be way on the opposite end of the total opposite end of the circle. Now, if you can see this circle, you can see how we can have our words, our actions, our thoughts not be in harmony, not be in balance. But we say one thing, we do one thing, we think another thing, but our spirit is always centered, whether we understand it or not, with that greater spirit and the earth life force. And that's what it means to be in balance. That's what it means to be in harmony. And there's great healing in that.
So lining up your words and your thoughts and your actions with your spirit that is always connected to the earth,
And the greater spirit.
and it's always in balance, your spirit, but lining up.
You try your best. You try your best. No one is perfect. I'm not perfect by any means. No one is perfect. So there's always a little bit of imbalance. But the thing is, at least try. But you need to also understand as you pursue this path, and you'll find this out quickly, that humans' world is always in opposition to this. So you're going to endure much opposition in life, because what you're trying to do and be is in total opposite poles of the world that we've developed.
Yeah, we have a comment here from one of the people who are attending Stanford. He wrote, "For us traditional Navajos, we have our balance of Hajo, which is our traditional way of it's like our hemadag and the word that we use for everything that you described right now, with aligning your thoughts and your words and your actions with your spirit and Mother Earth in this time."
Yeah, I'm just trying to pass on what I've learned and what I know and what I've seen and experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So everything I've put in here, I've tried to put is true. I've tested it, I've lived it, I've seen it, I've felt it, I've tasted it, I know it. And let me tell you, I've paid a dear price for it.
And then the last part for Navajos would be the reflection, and that's the writing of it would be the reflection part. And so we have that, like the think, the do, action, and then the reflection.
Yeah.
Just one last question here before we kind of wrap up.
Okay.
So what's your biggest takeaway that you want to say to our generation who it's post-colonization, post-technological modernization? We're living in a digital world, it's just becoming more and more
Okay,
less
this is it.
connected. What do you have for us? What's some advice that you'd like to share with us?
This is the most existential threat of all the threats, which are many going on right now. And that has to do with the earth. That has to do with all life. And that the wasteful, polluted world economy and way of life that has been developed is threatening all life, and certainly has caused a lot of life to no longer be with us, whether it be human life, animal life, plant life, insect life, they're gone. And we're at a precipice right now, a critical precipice, where there's going to be great changes, and they're already happening on the earth, and we need to prepare for them. We need to prepare ourselves. And one way we can prepare ourselves is everything I've been trying to pass on, how to make yourself a better human being. And this is something that I've tried to deal with and fight when I was at MIT in 1978, the scientists knew what was going on and happening. They've known all along. And the answers have been there all along. But the will for the answers has never been there. And for all the talk and things going on, it's still not there. And so I encourage everybody to have the will and be ready for the change that is happening and going to increase in the years, because there's not enough will being exerted by the world authorities to change and stop what's going on.
Well,
So we need to heal the earth.
so we
The
need,
earth has a spirit. The earth has a spirit, like I have a spirit, you have a spirit. The earth itself has a spirit. And one of the natural instincts of all life is to survive. And so the earth itself is going to survive. Now, whether we survive or not, that's another story. But the earth itself will survive. You can take every human being off the face of the earth, and the earth will thrive. But if we take too much of natural life off the earth, we cannot thrive. So that should tell us where we stand on the earth. That's something Native people have always known. That's why we lived in balance with nature and the environment around us. And that has been lost. We need to reclaim it. We as Native people have a lot to share with the world about it if they just let us.
that's really powerful, by the way. Do you think that part of that is us returning back to our traditional ways and practicing our ceremonies?
Yes, but we have to accept the world that we live in now too. So we can't go back 1,000 years. We can't go back 500 years. So what we need to do is filter out what's good of the dominant society and what's not good. What can be blended and brought together and what needs to just be rejected. It's a filtering process that needs to go on. And this is where we as Native people, if we get back to our traditional beliefs and who we are and our life history with that creator, can offer a lot to the dominant society that we live in.
Wow, that's really powerful and extremely motivating. And I have a comment here, Mr. Esquibel. Thank you for your presentation. I agree that we must all at least try to become better human beings. And that was said by one of my students, Margaret.
Thank you. I want to tell all of you, and you, Millicent, you've thanked me for doing this. I want to tell you, thank you. It's been a real honor and blessing for me to do this. I want to thank you. And I want to thank your students that are participating in this and may listen to this. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. I know you're in Denmark right now and it's like 8:30 at night. I don't know how to do the math. I'm not sure if that's the correct time, but do you want to lead us like in a closing prayer and then we can end this?
Yes. I call upon the Great Spirit to be with us all. May you guide us, lead us, protect us, show us the way in life, a home.
Aho.
And thank you.
Yeah.
And bless all of you. And I wish all of you a good life. I wish all of you a happy life. I wish all of you a full life. And I hope that you live a life of intent and that intent is good.
Yes,
That's what I've tried to do.
you've left us a lot to think about, Mr. Esquibel, and I look forward to
No, you can just call me Steve.
Steve. Steve,
Just
I
call
want
me
to call you
Steve.
Grandpa.
I'm just a regular person.
I
Just
call you
call me
like Uncle
Steve.
Steve. I can't wait. I don't know if you still wanted to send me that book, but I'll definitely.
Yeah, I tell you what, you can get a hold of me at steven.esquibel50@hotmail.com. You can message me. You can send me your address, information. Look I'll be honest with you. I could have been a rich man many times in my life for my education, but that's not, I didn't want to sell my soul. My soul wasn't for sale or rent. So I chose a different path. So this book is, oh, the artwork in it alone is beautiful. It's 187 pages.
Do you know how to upload it on Amazon? I'm gonna turn this off right now because I don't
No,
want to. I don't want to like.
I once had a website and I offered